Hi, guys, and thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk Forex. This week, we're going to use what we've learned in the last few episodes and actually compare a couple of brokers. We've gone for Exness and XM. If you're enjoying what you hear, please remember to subscribe on whatever podcast service you use. And thanks. And enjoy this week's show. Hey, Alison, how are you doing today?
I'm very good, Chris. How are you doing?
Yeah, no, I'm great, thanks. The sun's shining, and we're going to be talking about a topic which actually dovetails very nicely with what we do for a living, Alison, which is quite exciting. So we're actually going to compare brokers today. In these previous episodes, we have talked about how to choose a broker, all the factors you need to take into account. But this time, we're actually going to take all those factors we've been talking about and use them to compare two brokers. And we've chosen XM and Exness. Got very similar sounding names, so we're going to have to be careful not to confuse listeners today. But these two are two of the most popular brokers in the world. And it's no coincidence that their reviews are two of the most read reviews on fxscouts.com.
Yeah, I'm also very excited to get into this because, as you say, it's something we do for a living, so it's something we know quite a lot about. And as we spoke about previously, there are many aspects that we consider when we review these brokers. And we spoke about safety and regulation in one of our previous episodes. I've actually done both of these reviews fairly recently. So, and what I found, which was very interesting, is that Exness has a lot more regulatory bodies. If you look at the bottom of their website, but they're only regulated by the FSA of Seychelles, FSC of Mauritius, CMA of Kenya, FSCA of South Africa, and the British Virgin Islands regulators. And these are all pretty low tier regulators. And they used to be regulated by the FCA and SISEC for their retail traders, but now they only allow institutions to be onboarded through these licenses, through the FCA and SISEC, which are, as I mentioned, both top tier regulators. So this means that for retail traders, they have quite a lot less protection than the institutions do at Exness. And so from our perspective, from a regulatory standpoint, we prefer XM because it's regulated by all traders, all retail traders, depending on which region they're in, can be onboarded through the FCA of the UK, ASIC of Australia, or SISEC in Cyprus. So these are all top tier regulators, and XM makes it a priority to have these top tier regulators available for their retail clients. And it also is regulated by a body in Dubai, which is also a fairly good regulator. And another thing that I sort of had a bit of issue with is that South Africans, being a South African myself, South Africans are onboarded through Exness's Seychelles-based entity rather than the FSC, the local regulator, the FSCA. So this means that obviously traders that are South African traders will not get the same regulatory benefits. They don't have local protection. Their money will not be segregated in South African banks. And obviously, it's much more difficult to get the FSA of Seychelles to do something if you have a dispute with Exness. But then again, South Africans that trade through XM will also not be onboarded through the FSCA because if the XM doesn't have an FSCA license. So depending on your region, they're fairly similar, but XM definitely has more top tier regulators that oversee it. So from our perspective, we would say XM is probably a safer bet, if we can put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. XM, this FCA regulation, ASIC regulation, and SISIC regulation are all, yeah, they're all really strict. XM will have to comply with a lot of audits. They'll have a lot of on-site inspections. They'll have a lot of database audits as well. All their activities are going to be very closely watched in those countries. which does give people like a little bit more peace of mind. But then Exness, has got a huge reputation. I mean, they're one of the biggest brokers in the world. I mean, I was just looking; they've just announced their figures for June. I think they did something like $2.3 trillion in CFD trading. They've got 320,000 clients worldwide. So it's Exness. They're not an unsafe broker, and I think it's worth pointing out that both XNS and XM both provide negative balance protection, which means you cannot lose more than your initial deposit, which is as really important for beginner traders. You don't want to end up owing your broker money, and they both segregate their client funds from their own accounts. So as you say, like I mean, XM are under more regulatory scrutiny, but with XNS, I think you're still going to be trading with a pretty safe broker unless you're in South Africa, in which case you may be bothered. Not that it's not safe, but you may be bothered that you're not going to have local oversight. You're not going to be able to complain to the FSCA if something goes wrong with your relationship with XNS.
Which brings us basically to our next point in terms of safety is that when you're trading with a broker, you've got to watch your margin or your leverage. So Exness has extremely high leverage. So that's something that it's almost unparalleled by any other broker. They have unlimited leverage, which is almost unheard of. And while XM has leverage of up to 1,000 to 1, which I mean, I don't think anybody needs 1,000 to 1 leverage. But the fact that both these brokers give you negative balance protection means that you cannot lose more than your initial deposit. So it means that you won't end up owing the broker money, but it's still a very high risk of losing your money or having your account wiped out. Exness also the leverage that we're talking about is available on forex instruments, the unlimited leverage, but it also has extremely high leverage on its cryptos, which is quite surprising. It offers leverage of up to 400 to 1 on crypto trading, which is absolutely insane. I mean, look, cryptos are such a volatile asset that as soon as it jumps even a small increment, you'll probably get wiped out immediately on leverage of 400 to 1. But XM's not much better. If I look here, they've got leverage of up to 250 to 1 on their cryptocurrencies. So both these brokers are quite wild with their leverage, I must say.
Yeah, exactly. They both have very high leverage. It's something we always tell beginners when they start off that keep your leverage low. And with both these brokers, you're going to be able to change your leverage levels when you open an account. So do so. Don't take unlimited leverage on a standard account, especially if you're putting in a low deposit to start off with. And as you say on crypto, I agree with you. I mean, crypto 250 to 1 leverage or 400 to 1 leverage when trading cryptocurrencies, especially in the current market where we're in July 2022, and the crypto has been crashing pretty heavily for the last 6 months. But it's still incredibly volatile, and you can get wiped out. You can get wiped out really easily. The one thing I will say with between XNS and XM when it comes to what CFDs they've got on offer, though, is that XNS is quite limited actually in terms of what we see with brokers, especially big brokers. They don't have that many CFDs to trade, so many instruments. I think they've only got 70 stocks to trade, which is much lower than you see. Whereas XM has got well over 1,200 stocks to trade, and a whole bunch of other stuff. You can trade commodities, you can trade metals, you can trade indices. So while both sides have high leverage, if you're looking to trade stocks, I think you're probably going to want to go with XM here. But that said, on the other side, XNS has 100 forex pairs. So if you're a specialist forex trader, then maybe XNS is the way to go here.
Yeah. Although, again, XM has 57, which is not too bad. So it's still a pretty good range. And as a professional trader, you often have very specific either currency pairs or stocks or indices or ETFs that you trade. Although I mean, not that these two have ETFs. But if that is your thing, you'll be able to see whether what these brokers offer and be able to choose it, on that basis as well. But as you say, XM really does do well from, just a choice point of view. They've got a hell of a lot more choice. Which brings us also to the next point, which would be trading accounts and trading costs. Another huge factor that we take into account is the trading costs when you trade with a broker, and also just the number of accounts available. So when we did our review, we found that Exness offers 9 accounts, which is obviously a huge range compared to other brokers. And it's got a nice range. Some of them are available for beginners, while others are more suitable for more experienced traders. So it's also nice that it caters to both types of traders. When we opened these accounts, we found that the trading costs are higher than average, slightly higher than average on its standard accounts. They sort of average at 1 pip on the Euro USD, which is not bad. It's sort of average for the industry, and especially for an entry level account, it's a pretty good trading cost. And on the other hand, it's pro accounts, of which it has 6 pro accounts. You can open a trading account with a minimum deposit of 500 USD, and for that you get a trading cost, an average trading cost of between $6 and $7 per lot traded, and that's very, very low for the industry. What I didn't say just now was that the minimum deposit to open a standard account is only $3. So Exness really, really does well in terms of its trading costs and the minimum deposits. $500 might be a bit much for a beginner trader who doesn't know what they're doing and might be worried about losing their money. But the $3 for a standard account or a cent account is good. On the other hand, you've got XM, which has almost similar sort of trading costs, slightly higher on its entry level accounts. So its entry level accounts all accounts have a minimum deposit of $5. So this is where it differentiates from Exness, which makes them all accessible to beginners. And again, there are no commissions at all. So it doesn't have raw accounts where you pay a commission. These are all spread only accounts, and the entry level accounts have an average spread of 1.7 pips, which is quite a lot higher than the average. So if you compare standard accounts of Exness to Exness is at 1 pip and XM is at 1.7, so it's almost double. So that is something to consider if you're going to be opening a standard account. But XM then has a pro account or an ultra low account that you can open also for a minimum deposit of only $5, and the spread averages at 0.8 pips. So that's quite similar to Exness's account, and you only have to pay open your account with $5 minimum deposit versus the 500 at Exness. Yeah, so they're comparable, but they have quite marked differences in terms of minimum deposits and then trading costs for those minimum deposits.
Yeah, exactly. The standard accounts at Exness are a pretty good deal. I mean, I do want to say here, like, I mean, we've with Exness, we said there's a minimum deposit of $3. Exness say that actually there's no minimum deposit, but then if you're trying to deposit money there, the minimum you can deposit with Exness is $3. So it's they'll say zero, they'll say they'll have no minimum deposit, but it's actually $3. Whereas with XM it is five. Yeah, so I'd say the main difference here we were looking here is with Exness with these pro accounts, these big minimum deposit pro accounts. They've got 500 US dollars, and these are going to be for more experienced traders. That's what these accounts are aimed at, and they're really good trading conditions, really low ongoing costs. But again, you're just coming back to the same problem we mentioned before, which is this lack of instruments. If you want to trade something that XNS doesn't have, then you're not going to be interested even in these. Even if you're an experienced trader. On the other hand, if you are an experienced trader and XNS has the instrument that you want to trade, and you have the 500 US dollar in deposit, looks like a pretty good deal to me. These pro accounts and XM is, yeah, I mean, it's really really good, decent all rounder, I would say. XM, the ultra low account is great, 0.8 pips. That's a pretty low trading cost when you look at the averages, and you get access to a lot of instruments. But there's quite a big divergence here in terms of accounts, but there's something that we found that they're quite similar in are trading platforms.
Yes, they are very similar in trading platforms. So when we opened the trading platforms, what we found basically that XM and Exness have their own apps available on mobile. Although Exness also has this app available on a or as a web trader version, where XM doesn't. So they've got their own in-house apps, and then they both offer MT4 and MT5. So they are extremely similar from a platform point of view. From a just from my personal point of view, I must say I quite liked the Exness trading app. I like it because it is very easy to navigate. It's got trader sentiment where XM only has, you can only sort of trade on the charts, and you can both of them. You can manage your accounts and deposit and withdraw funds, and both of them have all the instruments available on the mobile app. So that's also very good. The one thing I liked about Exness is that you can trade with, it allows you to view trading signals, which are curated by Trading View for each instrument. So that's also nice, unique selling point that Exness offers that's unfortunately not available at XM. So from our perspective, I would say for me, Exness has just got that slight edge compared to XM, and I really enjoyed trading on the app. XM, as I said, you can do all the normal functions. You can trade on the charts and on your MT5 account, and you can withdraw and deposit funds, and you have access to an economic calendar and to research. But it just doesn't quite have what Exness has. So that's sort of my verdict on the trading platforms and the comparison between the two.
Yeah, they're both strikingly similar. I mean, I was looking at our reviews a little bit earlier. I mean, and there's very little to tell between them. The one thing I will say is that there's obviously no C trader here. There's no so if you're a C trader user, don't um, don't go any further basically. And if the other thing is that if you're stuck with MT4, if you really like MT4, then you're not going to be able to use it on one of these fancy redesigned apps. You're going to have to use the old MT4 mobile, which probably isn't going to be too big a turn off for you if you're already an MT4 user. But otherwise, very similar. I just wanted to pop into our next topic here, which is deposits and withdrawals, something very close to our hearts, as we explained before in a previous episode. Why deposits and withdrawals are very important. Basically, don't mess with your client's money. And I'm pleased to say that neither one of these brokers messes with your money. With XM, the account funding process, whether you're depositing or withdrawal, is open 24 hours a day, fully automated. XM covers all transfer fees, does not have any hidden fees or commissions. The only thing you need to be aware of is that any deposits and withdrawals that are made by bank transfer, by wire transfer, if it's under 200 US dollars, then you will be charged. But otherwise, all above board, very good. And Exness, happy to say, very similar. A huge range of deposit and withdrawal methods, larger than XM. Deposits and withdrawals are generally instant, no fees, and so funding your account, withdrawing from your account is cheaper and easier than with most brokers. Like I said, they're both very similar and very good in this regard. I mean, it probably explains why they're. It's part of the reason why they're both so popular. The other thing where Exness does come out on top here, I would say, is that it offers only over 40 currencies worldwide currencies you can deposit money into your account through, whereas XM only allows 11. So if you're not part of that 11, you're gonna have your funds converted probably to USD. So this is great for traders all over the world, and it probably explains why XNES has such a huge global client base. It's one thing I do want to point out though is that if you go on places like Trustpilot, other client review sites, you're going to see people complaining about both companies' deposits and withdrawals. And look, there's always going to be people who have problems with deposits and withdrawals, and that's true. But we found in our experience that we didn't have problems, and that we would like to say that both companies' customer support teams are responsive. We both found them very willing to help with queries. That said, XM's customer support was just a little bit better. The agent seemed to be just a bit better trained, and provided bit better support at the end of the day. But overall, deposits and withdrawals, both these companies are excellent, and there's not much to choose between them really.
Yeah, I actually found that when I did deposit my money with both of the companies, and actually when I withdrew the money from both the companies, I found that it was processed within 24 hours, which is quite exceptional. Most brokers take much longer than that, so that was good. So I think where customers have an issue with deposits and withdrawals is where they don't read the fine print, and then they get a bit confused as to how the process works, or they don't realize that they're going to get charged fees by their own banking institutions, and they think Exness or XM has taken those fees. And currency conversion fees are confusing, I guess, for many people if they don't understand the whole story. So I think that's where most of the complaints come from.
Yeah, that's true. I think a lot of complaints come from there. And also, I mean, a quick word about bonuses. It's not something we're going to cover here, but both these brokers offer bonuses. But with when you get a bonus from a broker, it's very often that you can't withdraw it, and there's often very strange, not strange, but there's often fine print with how much you can withdraw if you do start off with a bonus deposit, and I think a lot of people get caught out with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think most of the complaints come from not being able to withdraw a bonus. Then the other aspect that we just want to cover quickly is education, and this is mainly because there's a clear winner on this aspect. So Exness has the Exness Academy, which is split into different sections, but this caters to more to beginners. So that's what we found when we opened the academy or entered the academy. We found that all the trading terms are explained, and it has very short bite-sized videos that you can open. Just to get a basic feel for forex trading. So that's what Exness offers, which is fine, and it's sort of similar to other brokers, but it wouldn't wow you. You might have to go elsewhere to look for better trading training materials. But XM is absolutely exceptional from an education point of view. They provide XM Live and XM Live Education, which are different rooms that you can register for. These are available basically from morning to night, and they're webinar type style lessons where you can ask questions of your hosts, and they provide education on every aspect of trading. And it also caters for beginners, intermediate traders, and more experienced traders. So from an educational point, and they also have obviously the webinars, and they have videos, and they have written materials. I mean, XM is just absolutely amazing in terms of their education, and particularly their live education. They're called trading rooms. So I would suggest any beginner trader that is starting in the forex trading space just goes and has a look at XM, and do yourself a favor. Attend some of these webinars and ask your questions, and you'll find that you'll be very impressed with what you receive there.
Yeah, you're right. XM is really spectacular when it comes to education. It's something I think we highlight in our reviews, how good they are for beginners, and as you say, I mean, importantly for intermediate, for more experienced traders too, who want to get into complex, really want to understand the complexities of risk management, but also who sit there and want to talk with an expert about technical analysis. You can do that at XM, where at XNS you're not going to get that kind of educational support. But and I think this kind of brings us to our conclusion here, Alison. It's a kind of a tough one. I mean, what do we say? I mean, I don't want to say on one hand, I don't think we can say which broker is better, but I would say on balance, if for more experienced, for more professional traders, I would probably go for Exness because it has these pro accounts with the higher minimum deposits, but very low ongoing trading costs. But as I mentioned earlier in the piece, they've got fewer instruments. So if I'm a more experienced trader and Exness offers the instruments that I want to trade, this looks like the better choice for me. But if you're interested in share trading, then if you're a specialist stock trader, then you're going to look at XM.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree totally with that as well. Well, thanks, Chris. I mean, this was a lot of fun for me. I enjoy, chatting about the different brokers. Obviously, we've got our heads in these brokers all day, but as you said, XM and Exness are very good brokers. It's always a pleasure to review their sites and to see what they've added. And as you say, traders certainly won't go wrong trading with either of these brokers.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Great talking to you this week, Alison.
Yeah.
Speak to you next time.
Thank you, Chris. Cheers.